The first season of The Twilight Zone, as well as the second and third, is probably some of the best episodes, well filmed, and they took their time putting together the films in a sense. Most TV shows went into production, it was about 2 days, maybe 3 days filming. Twilight Zone had the same except for one exception, and this was very rare for TV series. They had 2 days of rehearsal. Years later, and even today, stars look back at it and say, you know, after all the shows I did, that's a rarity. I never had rehearsal. You're supposed to know your script, and the first day of filming, that's it. They start filming. They were quick shoots. The budget for The Twilight Zone was $75,000 per episode. To give you an idea of how expensive that was, the regular average cost of a TV series back then was about $25,000 to $40,000. Very high. The contract was with CBS for 50%, so they put up 50% of the film, and they own 50% interest. So Serling was able to put in a good $40,000, $20,000, $35,000, and they were able to do that. And with that, they were able to take a little extra time and effort and create some really, really well-made films. This clip I'm about to show you is from an episode called The Big Tall Wish. It's the one about a little boy who actually worships his neighbor, Bully Jackson. And Bully is about to do a performance fight, and the boy wishes and wishes and wishes a big, tall wish that Bully will win. The only problem is Bully gets knocked out, and as the referee is counting up to 10, and sure enough it's going to get to 10, the boy wishes so hard that boxers switch. And somehow Bully has a faint recollection of what goes on. The end of this episode is a little more fantasy. He basically explains to the boy there's no such thing as wishes, and the boy says wishes don't exist if you can't believe. And what happens is they switch back. Sort of like time goes back, the boxers switch, and he goes home as a loser, not a winner. And when he sees the boy has actually lost his faith. He says, I'm not going to make any more wishes anymore. And the roles switch because Bully closes the episode by telling the young man, no, you know what, sometimes the world needs people to make wishes. It's a very good shot. There's a couple clever shots in this episode. When they did the boxing fight itself, rather than show the people screaming and shouting and actually seeing more of the fist on cheek, they decided to show the expressions by the way people's hands were reacting in the actual theater, whilst people were watching in the arena. I'm assuming everyone noticed the hands. That was a little extra effort. The directors on the series were given some creative control, and numerous times there was issues about how to film this. It's going to cost more money. Rod Serling would come on the set. He was the executive producer. He was the decision maker. And 9 times out of 10, he would look at the director and say, is it going to make it look good on film? And they said, it'll make it considerably better. And he said, go with it. Forget the cost. And these kind of touches show. This one section of the episode shows you more of the creativity. The camera is actually underneath the arena. They put usually there'd be a tarp where they're actually, the ground white tarp where they're actually doing the boxing scenes. They actually put a glass pane so they could film from underneath the arena. You're actually looking up from underneath where he really is lying down on the ground. And then for the aerial shots, they replaced that with an actual the regular white pad. You would never know it, but they wanted to emphasize it from the viewpoint of the boxer as he's lying on the ground. That took a little bit of time, and apparently half a day and $30,000 just to do that one shot, because that meant they had to cut a hole square, they had to fit the right glass, they had to fit it. Very complex, and took them half a day. And of course, this is where the switch happens. As you can notice from the aerial view, you cannot see any seams for the square. They did that good of a job. Most people, if they really look at how they film these, they're very well done. And now it's the switch of the boxers. And the next episode I'm going to show you is another beautiful episode from the first season. It's called Passage for Trumpet. Jack Klugman plays a down-and-out trumpet player who's down on his luck, and he commits an act of suicide. Only he fails at that and finds himself in limbo. He's neither here nor there. He's not dead. He's not alive. What you see up on the top right is actually an in-joke. You notice the word Halton? Yeah. Buck Halton was the producer of the series with Rod Serling. Throughout the series, and I'm going to show you that later during the presentation, the names Nelson, Serling, Halton pop up on the screen on posters, lobby cards, whatever they could do to make up names. So it's in-jokes that they slipped in, and there's one that's really good. It's going to be funny. I want to show you another visual that they spent a little bit of time with, and of course that's Jack Klugman. Notice the shadow in the back. You can tell they took their time. This is another part of this episode, and I find this the most creative shot in the first season, and most people don't know how this is done, and they never think that there's a trick. Because he's in limbo, he cannot be seen in mirrors. He's not dead, he's not alive. There's a girl in the ticket booth. You'll notice up there. I'm going to show you, she's actually twins. They hired twins and never credited them. When he goes up to a wall, I'm going to show you, they have different panes, and one of them is not really a mirror. It's an exact duplicate of this entire set on the other side, and they had the duplicate twin girl doing the exact same thing. So that while one person's reflection can be seen, and he walks in front of the other one, and you can still see one reflection of the girl that's a real reflection, and one that's not really, Jack Klugman's reflection isn't being shown. So rather than just do a quick camera trick and angle, they decided to go to the expense of building a whole duplicate set, just so his reflection wouldn't be seen and fool everyone.
Excuse me, buddy, you have another. Excuse me, pal, you have another match?
Of course, that's the mirror.
I said you have another match. Movie's better than ever? Oh, look, yeah, the match. But, you see, I know the girl that usually works here, Gracie. I was going to tell her what happened to me. This big truck around me tangled, and the first thing I knew I was... Well, look, at least you can be a little courteous. I mean... Look at me!
That's actually the duplicate. Even though the other girl was seen on the same camera in one continuous shot.
Somebody's trying to pull a gag.
That is not a mirror.
Somebody's trying to shake me up.
That's one of the creative tricks they tried. Probably the most impressive one was done by Richard Baer, who I believe is still with us today and still doing little odds and end jobs for television as a consultant. Unless he's passed away recently, and I'm hoping that hasn't. I had a tough time trying to track him.
He did pass away.
He did? Okay, because I couldn't find him recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
He died about 3 months ago.
Very recent. Okay. He did an episode in the first season called Third from the Sun. It's about Armageddon is coming. A man's working for a space agency supposedly similar to NASA, and he decides that they're going to steal the ship he's been working on, and he's going to get him and his family and his friends in the vehicle, spaceship, and they're going to blast off and go for another planet. The twist of the story is that the other planet is Earth. To accomplish this, Richard Baer sat down with the director and said, I got some ideas, because you have a problem. If you make it look like Earth, people are going to be confused. If you make it look alien, like an alien world, they're going to know immediately. So it's a trick. How do you make it both an alien world and human, where it can fool them at first, but if they look back at it, they go, oh. So they went through the MGM props, and the series was filmed at MGM, and they found everything that was unearthly, including the music, the props, the sets, everything. And what you're seeing is an alien planet. So if you go back and watch the episode a second time, you start catching things you did not catch, showing the good craftsmanship of this.